First item on the agenda is item A, minutes. Is there any correction or amendments to the minutes?
On page 83, I had a suggestion. It's talking about the first full paragraph there. It's talking about the placement of the truck and the employee had minor injuries. And the next part says he has been working on MTS. That's probably recorded Garland. It's a little misleading. It might be good to.
Yes, I agree. We'll make that correction.
Well, you mentioned Recorder Garland at the first of that paragraph, which is,
It
is
would make-
saying that, but it'd be clearer.
Yes, it would. Okay.
Make a motion to accept minutes with that one revision.
Have a motion to accept the minutes, one provision. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by aye. Motion carried. Next item on the agenda are accounts. There's no vote required on accounts. If you have any questions, please give us the page and the line.
Just know that our landscaping one is high as we had thought it was gonna be. It's about $2,000 cheaper.
Yes, you can't look about it. Well, there's also, like I say, it was what we thought it was going to be. It was great. One of the bids was out there pretty good.
Yeah.
This one was a lot more favorable. Any other questions? Any questions on the accounts? Seeing none, the next item on the agenda is delegations. Does anyone here like to address the board on any issue concerning the city? Okay, next item is item D. Discuss and consider an ordinance allowing for a letter of intent to be filed for potential packaged beer permit application, the same as it is allowed for packaged liquor permit application. Jim?
We were recently contacted, or Brent was, about someone wanting to locate a convenience store here in town. And they were worried that something might happen within their 1,000 feet that would put them out of being able to do that. And they were looking at buying land and having to build a building. So they wanted some assurance, and under the liquor rules we passed, if y'all remember, right after we passed them, we passed a letter of intent that gave a potential applicant time to get a facility either renovated or built in order to build a liquor store. And when we look back at the ordinance, that letter of intent only applied to packaged liquor, not packaged beer. So Brent and I and the mayor discussed it, and so we decided to present this ordinance that basically puts the same wording that we had in liquor into the beer section of the ordinance. Now, one change we did make, the original letter of intent was good for 6 months. That's a little short in order to get the building built. So we decided to ask y'all to extend that to 1 year. But basically what this does, if you have a potential applicant for a beer or packaged liquor store, they can actually apply for a letter of intent on our form that says, this is what I'm planning on doing, here's the owners, all the information, my location, and it protects that location from being ruled out because a church, school, daycare, etc. got moved into the 1,000 feet. There is no provision to extend the 1 year. By the time they get to the end of the year, basically they're going to have to go ahead and apply for their application at that point. Unless there's some unforeseen circumstances where y'all feel like y'all need to extend it. That's up to y'all. The city can't extend it after the year. So this is not to be used for somebody to just protect the vacant lot and they really don't have a plan.
Right.
And it's only good for the person that applies. You can't transfer it, as it says in the ordinance, non-transferable. So,
But in the event someone is partially complete with their building, you know, with things like they are right now, you could maybe not be finished so that we couldn't come and issue because of, you know, you have to have so much window frontage and the windows can't be too high. I mean, there's so much.
On liquor, on package stores, the regulations are different because that's state requirements.
Right.
Whereas packaged beer doesn't have a lot of those same regulations.
Okay.
So, it would be different between beer and liquor as far as the type of building or the point they can be. But, you know, what I'm saying is, this letter of intent is now approved by the mayor and Brent.
Right.
But if any extension got made, this board would have to do it. It wouldn't be their place to extend it on their own.
Now, is this addressing Mr. Pataglia's?
No, it does not change that wording at all.
Okay.
The wording, it's this ordinance. The wording's the same as it's always been. That includes, and in the first paragraph of each one of these about the distance requirement, it does include the wording daycare center and public park, just like the existing ordinance does.
Okay.
If this board wanted to change that, it would be easily changed with this same section and change this ordinance to actually eliminate daycare, park, and you could leave church and school and eliminate daycare and parks. But that's up to this board. It's not presented that way.
Yeah.
It's up to y'all. But right now, the one thing we're doing, making the letter of intent apply to packaged beer, the same as it is packaged liquor, and we're extending the time from 6 months to 1 year. It's the only changes this ordinance does.
But this is in response to someone who is wanting.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And where is this location?
Brenda,
We'd rather not say it right now because we don't want
It's in my front yard.
to, it is not in your front
it's in a business zone. It is a business zone. It is allowed at that location currently with no
I
problem.
think the thing was, that he had a good point. He just said, hey, I'll build this building, and I'm fixing to build this building. I start building this building, and I'm halfway through building this building, and all of a sudden, somebody
pops
moves
up a
something,
church
somebody
or
pops
something.
or something like that, and the next thing I know, I'm out. I've got all this investment, and I'm
I don't
out.
blame them.
For clarification, how far along does he have to be in order to make the application? The building have to pass inspection and everything?
For a certificate going to the state, yes, the building would have to have everything basically completed. I mean, he doesn't have to have a CO. He does before he applies to the state, but he could get a certificate of compliance from us prior to total completion, but it would have to be almost done. As far as the beer, you know, could happen a little sooner, because that's actually, he can apply for a permit with us. So we're the ones who issue the beer permit, and you go ahead and issue a beer permit with the building already started if you wanted to. If he wanted to go ahead and apply, you could go ahead and issue a permit for a location, even though the building wasn't complete. So that,
For a person what he's wanting to put in would be the packaged beer.
Yeah.
So he's probably a little safer than the guys wanting to get something built for packaged liquor.
I agree. Mhm.
Yeah.
But still, with everything in the materials, extending it to a year, I think is a reasonable thing, so.
Yeah, any building construction is going to take you 9 months to a year,
Yeah.
you know, as a general
6
rule.
months won't get it.
You know, and in this case, they're actually having to negotiate to buy the land and start the building, so, you know, so it's gonna take a little more time.
And it is already zoned.
Zoned properly, it's in the right location, it's more than 1,000 feet from the church or school, no questions asked, so, you know, he just wants this extra protection before he moves forward to start a building. And I don't know if he's any close from the property yet.
Well, here's,
The zoning would be a separate issue entirely to this.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm. Basically, the letter of intent does 2 things. It says his distance requirements is okay and he's in a proper zone. It's all it guarantees. It doesn't guarantee anything else about the building, anything else other than those 2 things. The letter of intent protects you for those 2 things. The 1,000 feet distance requirement and the proper zoning at the time he gets the letter of intent.
We wouldn't give him the letter of intent if he wasn't in the right zone.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Mhm. He would not receive a letter
But
of intent approval.
he already, this is, so,
yard. It is at this time.
yeah.
One thing we may have to nail down specifically, but when that is determined that that letter of intent is no longer needed, that the building has either started or the plans have been approved, something like that needs to happen, because, like I said, if we get to a point where it's a year down the road and he hadn't done anything, I don't think the letter of intent's any good anymore,
No.
but if nothing's changed, he could submit another letter of intent.
So, submit another request for another
Request for
letter.
it, yeah.
Him or
Don't extend the
or
letter.
him or someone else could. If it
If
meets
it's
those
the same
qualifications at the
to
time they
somebody.
apply, at the time they
The
request.
year, if he's done nothing, and the year is up, and somebody comes across that's a daycare or church, I think he's out of luck.
Yeah,
He had his year.
he's just wanting a place marker for a year right now, basically.
I think when we look at this, I think we need to look at it rather than just for this one individual. And that's what I'm looking at. I'm not looking
Yeah.
at what he's doing.
Yeah.
And that's what all of our conversation's been around is him, but we need to look at this for anybody.
Yeah, this ordinance was written for anybody.
Right.
And we tried to write it where you just couldn't use it as a placeholder to indefinitely keep it extended.
Right.
We're not expecting it to be that way. We're wanting to be a one and done
Yeah.
for somebody that is serious about actually going in and doing it. And he's got to be the one to apply for the beer permit. John Doe can't do the letter of intent, and then Bob comes in and applies for the permit. That don't work.
Okay.
It has to be still John Doe applying for the permit. Now, if nothing's changed, Bob could come in and apply for a permit because it's still legal for anybody. But if something happens to change in a church or school or daycare ended up in that 1,000 feet, then only John Doe can apply for the application. Bobby, you look confused. Okay.
But in just looking at anybody doing it, we just gotta make sure we're covered, not just for this situation. And a year is plenty.
Now, I mean, this has really never come up before in all the years. Normally, people.
But it makes perfect sense.
It makes sense, but it really it's never been, nobody's ever got caught.
The question,
With
the
this,
deal
but most
was,
times-
the person fixing the building asked the question, we all looked at each other going, it ain't covered.
Yeah.
And that's where we started talking about it and seeing what we could do to make it, he brought something we didn't.
I don't think we've ever had a facility specifically built since the Corner Express that wanted beer, and they built a new building.
Yeah.
Everybody else has been an existing building, something that's been there for years, or didn't have beer for long, even Roto Stop.
Right.
Originally didn't have beer.
Right.
And it was not until it sold a couple times, and then the new owner came and requested the beer permit. So, this has never really come up.
I'll make a motion that we adopt this ordinance.
Have a motion to approve the ordinance, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second, any discussion on the law ordinance? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Phelps? Mr. Barber?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Rhodes?
Yes.
Mr. Manus?
Yes.
All voted in favor.
This is unanimous, I can entertain a motion on second reading.
So moved.
Have a motion on second reading, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Roll call vote.
Mr. Phelps? Mr. Barber?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Rhodes?
Yes.
Mr. Manus?
Yes.
All voted in favor.
Ordinance passes. Next item on the agenda is item E, discuss and consider approval of the architect's selection of fees for the hall renovation. City Hall renovation. Jim? Brent?
At the last meeting, y'all approved for a committee to meet and discuss building renovations, and we met on a couple occasions. They authorized us to go ahead and hire Gerald Vaughn, which was the original architect on City Hall, and we proposed our renovations. He did drawings for us that did not exactly match, and we came back and finally came down to this, which is what we talked about, and I think everybody was in agreement with. I think Bill, Keith, and Mark, I think, all sat in on some of those meetings. If you have questions about the renovations or the fees, we don't know exactly, or we have no idea what the renovation cost is going to be. It's going to affect a lot based on crazy world we're living in, supplies that are out there, material costs, etc. All we're going to be able to nail down right now is what the final cost would be to design, bid, and follow the construction through. Of course, this will be billed over phases as we go. You're not committing to doing the renovation. This is committing to pay for the design of the renovation. It is $22,000. That's renovations to the upper floor here, finishing out the vacant area over here, also finishing out the vacant area at the back of the first floor, and also making some renovations to the collection area of the recorder's office. If you have questions, feel free to ask.
Has there been any changes made on the renovation down in your office and the mayor's office in that area?
There was some renovation to the front counter and the area where the reception is set, you know, we've just talked about, and also that office in there, we're making it a little larger, that intermediate office in the middle, we're making it a little larger. And the plan is to actually move Alicia, being the assistant finance director, over to this side of the building instead of being across the hall in the utility department. And that does provide her an office space that way.
HR.
Yeah, HR will be one office,
Kind of what she will.
accounts payable will be another area, and then the front counter, there'll be two clerks at the front counter, and they will be having desk height on their side. It'll be a counter height for the customer, and they'll be sitting at the counter all day long. That'll be your main receptionist, the main person answering the phone will be at the front counter. And we're routing everybody into that front counter space.
Sliding doors there where Sheila's office was, we'll go upstairs for the.
Yeah, that'll be closed off, and there'll be a door there, but it's gonna be closed most of the time. And we're moving those sliding doors up here to the entrance to the meeting room we're gonna make up here on this wall in order to save money. That was suggested by the architect, and it made sense.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm. The mayor really liked it because that way when people come off the elevator, they quickly see there's something going on in there and know to be quiet instead of, you know, sometimes people
Like you talked.
laugh and talk too loud there, but that at least they can actually see through those glass doors and see there's a meeting going on in that new area. These funds for the architect and also the renovation should be paid for out of the ARP funds under the name of improvements to help social distancing because of COVID. Give us more meeting space to spread out, not only for the city, but for all the public groups that use this facility too. So that happens every week.
We've been talking about doing that for 20 years.
Yes.
Since the building was.
Yeah, this area up here, we've talked about multiple times, and the budget always stops it, so.
And we finally have Sam giving us some funds that allows us to do this, so.
Yes.
And I think it's case with do it all,
Mhm.
if we possibly can.
We feel like it's gonna be a cost savings to do it all at one time versus piecemealing, you know, by the time you have to pay fees again and a new contractor and mobilization and everything. Now, it's gonna be disruptive at times, especially in our office area while during construction. We're trying to work around that. It's not gonna be fun, but we'll deal with it.
I don't know, Jim, if you want to expound on, you know, we've talked multiple times about having public meetings and talking about, so it'd be something for Kendall to capture in the paper so that y'all don't have people lined up out here wanting to know why didn't we have a public hearing about it. Explain
Okay.
why we're moving ahead with this part.
The ARP funds that the city got, we did get our first half of those funds. Correct me if I'm wrong, Alicia, we got about $944,000 that we put in interest-bearing accounts by itself, and that's where it's laid. We have a couple projects that sort of are moving for some of those funds that y'all know about. One being this project, the other one being the North Avenue water project that's been discussed. But during all this discussion, we have been waiting for the federal treasury to make their final guidelines that they promised by the end of September, the end of October, the end of November, and the last word we've got is they're not going to do a final step. So that slowed everything down, so we're still on hold. Number two is the state has come forward with some TDEC money, matching funds for water and sewer projects. And they've had guidelines for that money, and now they're had some public input on that. We just learned today, some of y'all were in the room with the TML thing, that says they are now, those monies were originally planned to go to the county, and the cities were going to go to the counties and get those funds. And it was a 60-40 match on those funds for utility work, water and sewer. And it's mainly for renovations, improvement to your system, bringing them up to better standards. And as that now stands, we were promised today and by the end of January, they may have their guidelines done. So we're in a holding pattern, not knowing exactly what's available, what we can do with it. We do know the City Hall project, based on all guidelines, will qualify based on social distancing, COVID protection.
Right.
The water and wastewater, we know works. Other projects are still sort of up in the air. The state has hired Horn Associates that they have had webinars, me and Alicia sat through all of them, and they're basically going through what you can use this federal money for. They even have a program where you can actually submit your project and get their blessing that it should meet the guidelines. Now, when they say should meet the guidelines, they're not promising it.
Well, they said they'll tell you if it meets the guidelines, but if 5 years down the road, they come back and audit you, don't meet the guidelines, they're not liable for anything.
Yeah.
You got to
So,
pay it back.
we're sort of in a holding pattern, waiting on all this stuff to be coming and moving to know, number one, what kind of dollars we're dealing with, and know exactly what we can do with the money. And we are still planning to have an internal meeting by the first of the year to discuss where everything is and come up with a plan. Then we'll meet with y'all and the public to discuss all our options for the money. The money that was coming to Chester County for water and sewer improvements, of course, they don't have a water and sewer system at all, was about $3 million.
Yeah.
So, and we originally got 1.88 million for us. So you take the city hall portion out, that's gonna leave, if this costs $500,000, and I have no idea if that number's even close. Let's just take that out. Let's just take that out for a minute. You got 1.3 million, 1.38 million still left of our money. But we don't wanna just spend that if we still can get some of the TDEC money and use our money as matching. So we don't know what that application process is or when it's gonna happen.
And our match, we're at 40?
Right now, it stands at 40% because it's based on the county ability to pay. Every county around us is lower than we are. Us and Fayette County are 40%. Madison County, Henderson County are 30% match. McNary, Hardman, and Hardin County are all 20, and Decatur County are all 20% match.
Because they're distressed.
They're more distressed, and our ability to pay for Chester County is higher than they are. So we have more affluent citizens based on their records. So that's the reason we're having to pay a higher matching. And the process of the county determining who gets the money is supposed to be for anybody that has a water or wastewater system in their county. And as y'all do realize, we have a couple other utilities that do have water in our county. We have Selmer, we have Adamsville, and even a little bit of McNary County, Madison County, JDA is in our county. So, you know, they originally said the county is supposed to be the go-between and determine what projects qualified, and anyway, so, but that may be all out the window based on the new guidelines, so we are on
Okay. I know that was a lot, Kendall, but just if you could,
we're still planning on having a hearing
Right.
after the first of the year, once we make a little more determination.
just trying to take the heat off y'all, okay?
And the city hall project, as I say, this only just gets the design done.
Yeah.
And once we get the design done, get some cost estimates, we can always jump off, or once we get bids, we can decide not to go forward.
Yeah. It's just a starting place.
Yes, but we also still have the limiting deadlines of you gotta have it under contract by the end of 2024, totally spent by the end of 2026.
And
And
that's pushing it really.
really, when you think about it, because every other city and county in the state's gonna be doing these same type projects, and you're not gonna be able to find contractors, you're not gonna be able to find
And they're not
materials,
gonna be able to find help.
and you can't find help, and you can't get anything done.
That's pushing.
Because we can't even get materials for utilities now. And none of these projects have cranked up, so you can only imagine what's gonna be in another 24 months.
You were, I was telling Dave that you were in that meeting with you and Jill Hilbert. And Jim said when the bids come back and from sewer pipe or foot, what it was, they thought it would be, what the bid came back at, it was over $100 a foot or some crazy figure.
Material's gone way up, and it's got to the point where really right now, you can't, certain sizes of plastic pipe, you can't even get, they won't even take them over. You know, I mean, we didn't get able to place orders for like gas meters. We get those one or two at a time as the vendor gets some, you know, material that's really hard to get. And when we go to bid with the North project, I intend to bid both plastic pipe and ductile iron, and it wouldn't be surprising if ductile iron didn't come in cheaper and more available. Jackson run into that back in, you know, back when fuel shortage during the Carter administration and all that, and they was, you know, started using ductile for just about everything.
The thing think it's a pleasure to the board on this.
I make a motion that we move forward with this architect and getting us some drawings, we can look at them. And,
The motion to move forward with the architect. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, signify no. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, discuss the need for a master plan for the Gene Record Memorial Park. Yeah.
I'm gonna talk too much now. Okay. It is 2022, and we can apply for city park grants every 2 years. The next funding round is 2022 as far as making the application. The application based on the state is saying it's gonna be May, June timeline. But to apply now for an LPRF or a trail grant, RTP grant, either one, you have to have a master plan for your community for parks and recreation in order to make the application. If you don't, you cannot apply. We've never had an actual master plan done for our parks and rec, specifically, let's face it, we got one park, Gene Record Memorial Park, basically. So, we know we only can apply every 2 years. This is the year to apply. If we don't meet this window and get this master plan done and apply this year, you actually are going to have to wait 2 more years. So, we have been told that the state parks and rec through TDEC is going to have ample amount of money this next funding round. Which means, if you got any decent application at all, you are going to get funded properly. As long as you have jump through the right hoops, have your master plan, it meets the master plan, what you're applying for, and do what you're supposed to do, most projects are going to get funded based on what the state is telling us right now. So, if you want to apply for a grant, LPRF grant is a 50-50 grant. It gives you more flexibility of what you can use it for. The recreational trails grant is specifically for trails. It's a different pot of money. It's an 80-20 match, which is the one we just got done with. So, a lot of 80-20 better than the 50-50, but you're limited to what you can do with it.
yeah.
So my thinking is this year we probably would want to apply for an LPRF grant. What to apply for, it's totally, that's where this comes in. This master plan helps you determine what you want to apply for. And so, and plus, let's face it now, you can apply for $500,000. With a 50-50, that means you got to come up with $500,000 too. So you can have $1 million worth of improvements in one, in one project. But it all depends on what you want to apply for. And that's not going to be known until you get into this project. You got community meetings, you have a lot of input. The park board is going to have probably the biggest part of input on this plan as far as moving forward.
And what's our deadline for this master plan?
State said we better get moving on it now if we plan on doing it.
So we
if-
need to
You
be
need-
meeting.
You really need, if you want to move forward with an application, you need to, we went to A2H because that's the one that completed our project now. They gave us the quote here, which is $15,000 plus $1,000 worth of expenses, $16,000. That's not in the budget. That's something you're going to have to bring out of capital outlay in order to get this project done. They'll complete it over the next 3 months or so and be ready to make the application and assist with the application for whatever project is decided.
Okay.
And the amount is that the master plan is good, even though they look at 10 years, but for the state, it's good for 5 years. So once you do this, you're going to use it for this funding round and 1 and 2 more years. Now, it may be pushing to the next one, I think. I haven't looked at the calendar exactly how that falls, on what they consider 5 years.
Well, once we get our first one, then we'll just could keep it right.
Yeah, you can
It's
take
easy
the
to
same
do.
master plan and just update it and
Right.
reapply.
For the next time.
Next round. Mhm. But if you don't plan on budgeting, I know we don't know where budget is right now, but if we don't plan on budgeting money for an application in 2022, there's no need doing this right now. So, because you won't even be applying again until 2024. But, it depends on what you want to do with parks. You want to move forward, and this master plan may not all just be Gene Record Park. There may be new ideas that come up, a different park in a different part of town, or
Question was asked is, can we partner with the county to do one master plan for the one master plan.
Yes, I believe you can do an entire master plan for city and county both. You can do joint applications for projects, which means you could apply for $1 million worth of grant, 500 for us, 500 for the county. Of course, you'd have to come up with $1 million worth of matching. And it can be pretty much anything related to Parks and Rec, from ball fields, soccer fields, amphitheaters, to playgrounds, to you name it. If it's considered a park and rec, you could apply. So, some communities, go in for big money to get big projects completed. Some other communities go in for $50,000 just to do a little small project of some sort. But that, once again, is going to come back to what the master plan shows we need to do.
Well, I would definitely love to participate in this master plan, because I really want us to grow our park.
Yep. Well, that's the whole intent, is to get public input, the board's input. The park board is, as I say, going to carry a lot of the load.
Sure.
But yes, everybody has input. Y'all the ones going to fund things once they get in the plan. And there'll be sort of a timeline in the master plan, when we plan on getting these things done. Priority, basically.
We've talked about it for over 5 years, that we needed this, and now it's come to the point where we can't move forward if we don't have one. So I'll make a motion that we award a contract to A2H to help us develop a 10-year master plan.
And you want to make a motion, we're going to take it out of it.
Where can I take it from?
Keith?
General law class.
He said it, I didn't.
Okay.
It's John's
I was
birthday.
waiting,
That's a joint motion then.
I was waiting for him to ask how much I had in my promotional account. I have a motion to approve the contract with A2H to do the master plan. Money will come out of undesignated. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, signify no. Motion carries.
Thanks, Keith.
Papa Keith.
Danny Warbug.
I'm gonna sit there.
All right, item G. Item G is to appoint or reappoint one member from each, the Planning Commission, the Board of Zoning Appeals, the Industrial Board, and the City Park Advisory Board. Okay. The Planning Commission will be I'm asking the board to reappoint Craig Casey on the Planning Commission. I'm asking the board for the Board of Zoning Appeals, I think everybody understands Mr. John Welch's health and everything. He is stepping down, and we're asking you to appoint James Benson. And then on the Industrial Development Board, Renee is up, Renee is up, and we're asking to reappoint Renee. And on the Park Advisory Board, Claudia is rotating off, and we have here tonight Jill Smith, who is I think Heather has volunteered her to take up. But we really appreciate it, because this is I think the Park and Recreation Board is fixing with that master plan, fixing to take on the big thing. So I'm really glad. But like I say, we do appreciate you willing to serve. Because I really truly think our park board probably one of the most working boards we've got. So, does anybody have any questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion, we select the slate suggested by Mayor King.
We have a second. We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by no. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is approved utility department to order a new 2,500 pickup on state contract.
We have the money in the budget for another vehicle in the utility department. This is a budgeted item, and because they haven't been taking orders from, the start of the budget year until now, we anticipate a window, a very narrow window opening around just after the first of the year. We'll be able to go to them and actually execute a purchase order for this vehicle. It's under state contract. The price has already been set, to the state under the contract. So we anticipate it to be, within the budget without any changes, and we just want to be able to have the flexibility to say when they tell us that we can order one, we need to go ahead and order it then, because the wind will be very narrow.
This would be split between the water, sewer, and gas, or?
This one will be split between water, sewer, and gas. This vehicle will be primarily used by David Russell's assistant.
Make a motion, we authorize the utility director to purchase this vehicle under state contract.
Have a motion to approve purchase of vehicle under state contract. Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have a second? Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by aye. All opposed signify by no. Motion carried. Next item, item I, approve the utility department to hire an engineer to design the sewer extension to the hotel site.
We've done some preliminary work and, this hotel site ran into the problem with the blue line stream and, this project looks like it's, we're gonna have a little bit more engineering involved, and we'll go ahead and get them involved now so that we can try to find out if we can indeed fit under that blue line stream and go ahead and get this project to where we can, we'll be holding up the contractor when they do it. And so we also need some surveying done in the work I've done and looking at easements and things like that where the power line right of way is, which we were preliminary planning on putting it. There is not a written easement or a description of the easement or anything. It's only in the deeds in that area, and we'd like to pursue, making sure that we get a survey done and we get an easement that's written and filed with the courthouse for this project, in that elevations and all of that have been, verified by an engineer that indeed this project would work as designed.
Do you have an estimated cost of what?
All in was about 10,000, and I estimate it's going to be somewhere around that amount. And we had monies in the budget to serve the hotel project.
Jim, exactly what would be the process on hiring that engineer? He doesn't have to go, we can select who we want to.
Yes, engineers, professional services, you don't have to bid it.
So,
And we'd be using DRW, which has been doing most of our utility work. Everyone's most familiar with our system and have done good work for us through the years.
I'll make a motion then that we approve the utility department hiring the engineer to do the work, to do the design work for the sewer extension.
Have a motion to hire an engineer to design work. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by aye. All opposed signify by no. Motion carried. Next item is approve the purchase of equipment for sewer lagoons to treat the discharge water to meet the new limits approved by TA.
In renewing the permits, it was a permit renewal cycle. They renew all three permits for all three lagoons at the same time. And for instance, the chlorine limits, we've always had just a daily max, and so as long as we didn't exceed this maximum amount any day of the month, we met the permit limits. At the East Lagoon, for example, that was like a 1.8. We found in South Lagoon that we have to really bump that max just about every day to be able to meet the E. coli limit. So you've got, you're either going to violate this particular limit or you're going to violate that limit. And the idea is not to violate any limit. And so under the new permits, not only do we have that daily max number, but they're actually put in a monthly average number that is half of what the daily max is. And so at the end of the month, when you average all of your readings that you take 5 days a week, it cannot exceed, in most cases, about half of what our daily max is now. So there's no way that we're going to meet the E. coli limits at those levels. And so the one way around that would be to add yet another chemical, a dechlorinating agent. So you would chlorinate, take care of the E. coli, and then you would dechlorinate and take care of your chlorine before it's discharged in the receiving stream. To do that, we'd have to have some storage tanks at each of the lagoons. We would have to have metering pumps at each of the lagoons that could be flow paced. We'll have to have some equipment to flow pace it. And at East Lagoon, we're anticipating we'll need a flow meter because it's one of the older pipe meters. The estimated cost on doing all of this is about $12,459, and that would give us the storage tanks, and that would give us the metering pumps, and that would give us the electronic flow pumps.
How quickly do you think we can get this?
We'll have to submit this to the state of Tennessee to be approved, and then hopefully within probably 2 or 3 weeks, we'd be able to start buying.
Is this something we can install ourselves
It
or
is-
contract?
It is something that if we decide later, that if the state would, in some of the corrective action plans, we put in the plan that we would prefer to go to paracetic acid. The state at this time, even though they've got a dozen approved already, they just approved Memphis to feed it, they still, smaller systems, they're not approving them for whatever reason. That was in the corrective action plan, but these metering pumps and things that we're proposing would still be used in that chemical scenario also.
And you say 12,500.
Right, roughly, yes.
I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to approve the purchase of this equipment.
I have a motion to approve the purchase of equipment for the lagoons. Do I have a second? Second. I have a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by aye. Aye. All opposed signify by no. Motion carries. Okay, other business. Jim, you have any other business? Good. Chief?
All the business.
I just want to make you aware, our Dodge Charger that we ordered back in early July, it came in this week. We're in the process of getting it outfitted. Your guess is good as mine on the truck. I hope we get it out of this budget. That's all I have.
Brett?
No, sir.
Other businesses, we've had it in our place for a number of years, the fee that we pay plumbers to get on an approved list. They have to provide proof of liability insurance that meets our limits, and they have to be on this list to be able to do gas plumbing in a residence on our gas system, and that complies with the international flue gas regulations, and we would like to increase that fee. Currently, right now, it's about $25, and the handling of the process of getting them on the list, keeping their insurance on file, doing all the things that we need to do to make sure that the work is done according to the codes and things. We just need to go up, and we're recommending that fee go from 25 to 50, and that's in line with other cities around that do pretty similar.
Probably been a pretty long time since we've made any increase in there.
I think it's been $25, $26 since I've been here.
Lord.
Now, that may be in the ordinance, to tell you the truth, I'll have to check,
I
so.
don't think we can find that actual amount of
Okay, you didn't see the ordinance, okay. If it's not in the ordinance, y'all can just go ahead and make a motion to increase it. If it is in the ordinance, we may have to come back to ordinance next month. But
You won't get any pushback from them, I'm sure, because they get a lot of work because they're on that.
I get a lot of work to be on that list.
Well, I'd make a motion that we go ahead and increase it to your suggestion of $50.
We'll make a motion we have a motion to increase the fee to $50. Do I have a second? I have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by aye. All opposed signify by no. Motion carries.
That's all.
Chief? Carl? What part did, I think last part, you talking about paving, they are planning on coming
In the spring.
and doing all the paving we had for, okay.
In the spring. Is that March? Okay.
I do want to mention that we will have a city election next year, and there is a question about qualifying deadlines, just for those of you who are coming for election. I think what I was told today by the election office, it wasn't Kathy, she was out. Was incorrect. I think the deadlines they were giving me were for the primary election, not for the general election. But anyway, I just want to make you aware that sometime after the first year, y'all need to, or y'all that need to run, or I'll get you the information on the deadlines for qualifying and getting petitions picked up, et cetera. and I'll make sure they're correct. What I was told is it was all starting in December, and I don't think that's correct. I think that's the primary only. I think the regular date for picking up regular petitions will be in February, and they're due like the first week of April, based on the state side. So I'm going with that being the correct date, but I'll confirm all that and get that back to y'all, just where you'll know.
Dave? Would you? Michael?
I just wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and always blessed to see y'all.
Same.
This is one question probably for Jim or Alicia. In the capital thing for the utility department, the money that was added back in on the transportation equipment, that's the proceeds from the insurance, isn't it? Which we're adding negative number, we're adding it back in, making it available.
We have sell equipment too.
Is that, or is it, well, like it's about $22,000?
It's weird the way we're going to handle that, you know, from an accounting standpoint, it's a little different. You gotta count the insurance proceeds as revenue. Of course, you get to write off the asset that got the damage, because it still wasn't fully depreciated, and then you're gonna have the new one come on. So it is gonna be a little weird from a budgeting standpoint.
Until we buy it, until we buy another one.
Well, we already got one on order, but yeah.
But if we got paid for it.
Mm,
But we paid for it?
No.
That's what's in here, the money that we got back, except the line with the $9,300 and then added back.
No, actually, the amount coming back is about $32,000, so. Now, it's all three departments, or two departments.
The three
so-
from here add up to 22,275.
Yeah. Yeah, we did sell a lot of other equipment since the first of the year, which may be what you're seeing there. We sold, of course, several pieces of equipment, but anyway, but we'll work all the budget out and let you know the details.
Then the last thing would be to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year and a safe, stay safe and stuff. I was glad to see today that Tim's rehab was good, because that plate he was carrying at lunch looked heavy, and he didn't seem to, he wasn't having any trouble carrying it at all.
Didn't struggle a bit. I'm a good doctor, thank you.
Wanted to ask Chief, Fire Department, about your 2 AVG grant applications. So you've made application
Yes, we're working on it now, it's got to be on the 15th.
of this month?
Yes, this
Oh,
week.
okay. You're gonna make the deadline?
Yeah, we're working on it.
Okay, okay. Just want to follow up, because that's a good grant with just that 5% match. So I want us to get that happening for sure.
I wish we could put in for the CPG grant, because I heard that everybody put in for a vehicle was getting it.
Real.
So that I guess I didn't have to put in.
And also just say Merry Christmas, and I've enjoyed working with you. We'll do it again next year.
Jason?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, enjoy the time with your families, enjoy the remainder of the year.
Same here.
And,
You mentioned shop at the college.
yes.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that, thanks, Jim.
Place time.
You talk to Tim about that, take care of it.
We, along with the sheriff's office, we're doing our shop of the cop, that'll be the 20th. We're doing it a little different because of COVID and stuff. So we'll bring the kids in, we've got the Methodist church, we're gonna use it, so we'll bring the kids in up there. I think Adrian today had all the pizza places that donated pizza and stuff on the eat. They'll come in and enjoy a meal with the officers. Then we're gonna let them ride in the police car around the block or so. They enjoy that. And while we've got them out, they'll put the gifts all out and they'll come back to the church and get their gifts. We're being able to do a lot of extra kids this year, and we've got a lot of donations from the community. So I'm gonna put out a thank you later, but, yeah, it's a great program, and I really want to be a part of it.
Anyone else like to address the board before we close? Wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.